project was like personal friends you know.
Yes.
This is the work.
Yes.
This is kind of completely different.
Completely
different. deeper, and
it was really a really different subject, and I think I wondered, in taking pictures of people that I didn't know if I would have the same result, if they would trust me enough to let me take their portrait. And it's I don't think it's easy to have your picture taken. We all have an idea of how we look or how we want to look, and so these people really were very honest, and I think that's why the portraits that resulted are powerful. They're strong, because
honest. What's honest?
Honest.
Honest in which sense?
Not making, not posing, and not not
really. Yeah. Okay.
Not trying to be something else. Like, you are what you are. And so.
So this concept was.
Well, the concept was to do a comparison. To shoot each person in in uniform, and then in civilian clothes. Let me just switch here. The idea of wearing a uniform and how it influences identity, and comparing that to being able to wear your own clothes. And for veterans it was interesting because they're no longer in service, so you see them re-entering the civilian sphere, and how that comparison. And for active duty it was just a matter of a comparison between their private life and their public life. And many people have that. I mean, these are public figures, but they also have private lives. So that's part of, I think, a little part of this project, that you see them out of uniform, which is not something, we don't generally have access to the military, so this was a little bit of a look into someone else's world. I specialize in tintypes, and it's a process that goes back to 1857. And interestingly, it's a really American invention. You won't find tintypes in Europe or anywhere else, only in North America. And a lot of scholars have done research, why does this phenomenon exist? Was it a matter of materials? But it really had to do with what was going on, politically and socially in America in the 1850s and 60s. You had Civil War, and soldiers would have portraits of themselves made for their families and for sweethearts. And because tintypes were so thin, they could actually be mailed, so the post could send them places, and tintypers would set up these little studios at camps, at Civil War camps. So it was very much ingrained and in culture at the time. And the tintype, in a way, had replaced the daguerreotype. Daguerreotypes are very expensive to make, and only the very wealthy could afford to have portraits done. So once you have the creation of the tintype, it opens up portraiture to the masses. Anyone could have their picture taken. And that's what's beginning to happen. And in America at the time, it's a very young country. People are also, forming their identity, and this might be the one picture they had of themselves. So it was, something that they really thought about. How did they want to look? And this might be, the only image their family had, their sweetheart, and, it was important. And, the intimacy of these pictures, it almost replaces the person, the person at war, the person who's living at a distance and that you can't see. This might be all you had of them. So tintyping, in a way, for me is, I like the intimacy of it and the honesty of these portraits. They mean so much to, to the person that owns them, or that has them taken. And I learned tintyping from John Crawford. This is my teacher. We did a correspondence class by mail, and I would write him letters. He's in upstate New York, and so I would tell him, okay, I've used this recipe, and this chemical is turning blue. What do I do? And so John would write me a letter the following week, and so we went back and forth until eventually I was able to go stay with him for a week and make tintypes. But John is a legend, and he's traveled throughout the United States with a horse and a photographic van, taking pictures of people everywhere. He was even on the Los Angeles freeway with his horse Brownie. This is a picture of Tony. Tony is a Navy Seabee, and Tony explained to me that Seabees, they're specialists in hydraulics, so they go over. He was in Afghanistan, and they go over and they do all the plumbing, the water, everything. And when Tony came to the studio, he was unpacking his uniform, and sand from the desert in Afghanistan was falling out of the helmet, and I think the camera that I use and the lens is an old Darlo. It's a French lens from the 19th century. The focal point really is the eyes, and in a way, I think this type of portraiture is very honest. Perhaps it has something to do with it being the origin of photography. It is the complete opposite of digital photography, where you have thousands of snapshots that are manipulated post-production with Photoshop. So you can essentially add eyelashes to someone's eye, you can make them thinner, you can give them a cheekbone. But with tintyping, no, this is, in a way, it's a moment of who you are, and I think it's an honest moment. You're confessing before the camera, and it's a private confessional as to who you are, what you wish to leave behind or show people. And you can be guarded. Those portraits don't work. It works if you let your guard down and show who you are.
Who you were?
Who you are. Who you were. Sure, it could be some part of yourself. But sometimes I ask people what they're thinking. Like when you take their picture, I think it does matter the things you think about. And my friend Kirtan he told me when I was taking his picture, he was thinking about being in Iraq and being at war and the difficulties of that. And And so I think it really comes across in his eyes, you know, what that experience was like. Were shot, both portraits were shot on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
You have a variety of active duty military and veterans. So we did the uniform shot first because of a lot of, well, especially for the women, there were a lot of rules about makeup and your hair. You can't have your hair on your shoulders, it has to be off of your shoulders. So it was easier for the women to do the military shot first, and then when they were in their civilian clothing, they could put on makeup and do things the way they wanted to. And I think was more of a difference for the women maybe than the men. But you know, wearing a uniform it is a lot about identity, and I think for many people in the service, they're, you know, the people that they're working alongside are family to them, and it's a way of life. And so it is a big part of who they are, and I think that's maybe why you see it.
Yeah, I saw it. So that was the same day you took the same portrait?
Yes. Yeah, we did both pictures in the same day.
So was in the development of the techniques, you just changes something?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, there's a definite transformation once you put on a uniform. You become maybe someone
Identity.
else. Yeah. I mean, what we wear is such an expression of who we are. And Samantha's wearing I think she's wearing a shirt that her ex-boyfriend had given her, or someone, you know, a boyfriend that was very close to her, and she wanted it in the picture. But everyone had...
Yeah, she's not like you were between the world, you saw what the world you cannot talk about. So before and after, that's how I felt. Well, I don't know if maybe it's...
I think, you know, it's hard. It's also hard for a lot of people to talk about.
Exactly.
About war or Iraq or Afghanistan or identity, or you know. And
so, but this project is only for the war, or you take the soul of the person outside. That's why I felt.
I wanted. It was about honesty. You know, there's no point in taking a portrait unless someone is open. You know, if you're going to pose, like if you're an actor and you're going to be someone else, it's not interesting. Like, it's not interesting at all, you know, to be fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think it's better to be truthful.
Between the eyes.
It's all about, the focal point is the eyes. So.
Yeah, between the eyes.
Yeah, that's the story.
That's the story.
Yeah.
That's why you use the technique type.
Definitely. It couldn't have been done with digital, it couldn't have been done in any other way for me. The aesthetics or the technique had to match, the concept. It had to go together. And I think it's probably true for most people that make art, that they choose a medium that suits their what's in their minds, what's in their